Fashion is for followers, style is for leaders. Okay?
That.
When we go to sleep at night with love in our heart and we say, was I the best person that I could be today? Did I step on anybody else to falsely elevate? No, I didn't do that. Did I do what I'm passionate about, or did I just run around chasing the mighty pound and dollar? No. We go to sleep as artists. We wake up in the morning as artists and we dress with whatever we want. And people go, wow, that's cool. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's just the homosexuals playing at the knitting factory.
Oh, man, that is the best
thanks
plug
for
I've
noticing.
heard that.
Thanks for noticing, Ted.
Absolutely. No, probably one of the best dressed we've seen up here.
Thank you very much.
But you know what, you're not only are you a great dresser, but back in the, what would you say, mid to late 70s, you started a band.
Yeah, mid-70s. My first band was called The Rejects. It was at the time of when punk was first starting to stir in London.
Right.
Nobody really knew whether it was going to be the thing. The people in the music establishment who were all busy imitating their favourite bands from the, from leftover from the 60s and early 70s. They all had long hair. They were playing Jimi Hendrix better than Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton better than Eric Clapton. And then there was this new generation coming through, that needed to have their energy heard. There was a little club called the Roxy that a friend of mine took over. It was a gay club called Shagorama, right? And he took it over one night a week and called it the Roxy, and he let it be known that bands that couldn't get gigs on the circuit could play there. You just had to be enthusiastic. So I thought, great. I walked in there and I said, I hear you putting new bands on. He said, yeah, what's your band called? I said, The Rejects. He said, oh, that's a great name. You're playing here next Tuesday, supporting the Damned, the Adverts and the Vibrators. I said, cool, man. So I went off and thought, fuck, I've got to get a band together, So I went off and 5 days later I had a band, the biggest bunch of miscreants, ne'er-do-wells and vagabonds you've seen in your life. And that was it. And I just went out and played. And through doing that, I just happened to be on the scene. Then there was this feeding frenzy from all the major labels when they realised that punk and new wave was going to be the next big thing. So I was just disgusted with the whole thing, the new hypocrisy.
What was going through your head at the time? Well,
apart from drugs, I must add I've been completely clean since 1986. But at that time, if we're going to talk truthfully, all kinds of ideas
right
through my head in relation to what
just like what this whole new music that was happening in the UK in the mid to late 70s.
Well, I was ready for the ambush from the establishment because I'm a child of the 60s. I was born in 1950. In 1960, I was 10. 1970, I was 20. So I'm the original child of the 60s. I can remember the smell of the ink on the back of my first Bob Dylan album and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and I was already disenchanted by 1976. I was 26 because my revolution had been hijacked in the 60s by the establishment, this kind of cultural imperialism. And remember, I come from England, the home of empire, and they created a physical empire and then they created an economic empire. And when pop culture was first born and my generation was sort of like raising its ugly head, the establishment was very concerned for a long time because they thought that we were saying, look, we've just come out of the Second World War. We don't need all this bullshit about money and power over other people. And of course, that was really dangerous. It was threatening for the establishment. But then they realised all they had to do was sign up the bands that they thought articulated the dreams and aspirations of a generation, and then sell it back to them, along with copious amounts of drugs that they let into the country. The same way the CIA were the biggest importers of, cocaine and marijuana into the 60s, into America, to destabilise the whole Black Panther movement, the civil rights movement, the whole thing. Well, the same thing was happening in England, with MI5. The establishment realised, we built an empire that lasted nearly 1,000 years on divide and conquer, divide and rule. If we have all these kids stoned, they're in the bedroom singing, hey, the time is right for fighting in the street, boy. But what can a poor boy do except to sing for a rock and roll band? Sleepy London town just ain't no place for street fighting man. And that's it. You're just a kid in your bedroom that's stoned, yeah?
Right.
The same as now. So by the time the 70s came along, I was disenchanted because all my heroes, they weren't heroes anymore. They just wanted to take the record company dollar, get the dick sucked, take the cocaine, and that was it. So I thought, let me see how long it's going to take for the establishment to destabilise the punk movement. It took about 6 months, and at the end of that 6 months, I changed the name of my band from the Rejects to the Homosexuals to keep the major labels away from us, and for various other reasons as well, because I've been investigating ancient Greece, where the philosophers and mathematicians, so if you were a great philosopher, you were expected to be a great mathematician. They didn't divide art and science the same way that they do in education establishments now, just to turn you into a useful socio-economic unit and also to keep your mind of what's really, really going on here. So that's what I deal with,
So were you? Did you meet the band? Were you in school together with the?
No. I came from the north of England, like an
Okay.
economically depressed area, which is why I was like switched on to what was really sort of like going on. When I was a child, I came from a place where 1 in 10 people had a job. I don't even know why they call it a working class area, because nobody had fucking jobs. Nobody was working.
Right.
And when I went down to London in the sort of like the late 60s, it was like at the height of everything, and I was just like thrown into the whole thing. And I just met the guys from, like hanging around. One of them was a dishwasher at Goldsmiths College, which was like later to become the home of the whole new British art movement, with Damien Hirst and all those kind of people that are selling their stuff for like $30 million. But in the 70s, it was a hotbed of kind of like political activity. And it was in the centre of a place in South London where a load of bands had traditionally come from, like in the 60s and the 70s. David Bowie came from sort of like that area of South London, Jeff Beck, all those kind of people. And then in the 70s, it was bands like Squeeze and and the whole a lot of the punk things started down there as well. A guy called Mark P, who started off like the first punk fanzine, Sniffing Glue. So there'd always been a tradition of musicians down there. But no, I just got people that had passion. My first bass player was 6'3" Rasta man. He couldn't play, but he looked great. That was it. And I plugged him in, but I didn't switch him on. And it was just like challenging people's preconceived notions. Sort of like things are not always what they appear to be. But through doing that, I happened to be in the right place. I always say you are your own best advert. That was the spirit of punk. Go out there and do it, and then you attract the right kind of people.
Wow, I want to keep talking, but I want to hear some music here.
Okay, cool.
Let's do some songs here. It's the Homosexuals.
Okay, this song is called Slow Guns, written in 1978, was never released, and it's about the death of democracy and the way the music industry, through controlling the means of production and distribution, tried to control people's souls and hearts and minds. But any kids out there, you don't need that, yeah? You're an artist, you're free. Never let them take your freedom. Slow Guns for the democratic signal. Informed formula sold by assaulting the senses. Watch the trusted teams go into action, tense firm a subtle presence. I'm not so sure of that. The sign I resurrected, found the contract on the wall. Cooperate and die, 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 die and die and die, 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 die and die and die. Slogans for the democratic signal. Slogans for the democratic signal. Slow, slow. What's my name? It's the CIA. Scale of a simple arrival, beat the boom and buy the first gun. Look at me coming out of my pores. I'm looking round for a safety clause. Don't be scared of a simple arrival, just die, 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 die and die and die. Slogans for the democratic signal. Slogans for the democratic signal. Slow, slow. What's my name? It's MI5. toes.
It's the Homosexuals here
Absolutely.
on Viva Radio. Incredible. That was that's on a